first 200-watt car amplifier. Hifonics came out in '85, and JBL came along. There's not an exact date that I could find anywhere, but from what I've read, they came out in the late '80s, like the '88 to the early '90s, like 1990, '91 is when JBL came out with car amplifiers. Everybody, says the Hifonics is trash, blah 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 blah, this and that. And while that is definitely true in the past, I'm talking a long time ago when they were, first starting up, they did have reliability issues. But we're talking about a brand name that has been around for 30 years now. So a lot of what you're hearing about them having poor reliability issues is from, we're talking a couple decades ago. They have really, stepped up their game and is now currently producing a lot better quality amplifiers than at that time. So a lot of the people saying that it's reliability issues, maybe people who bought one of these amplifiers 20 years ago and have never given them a second chance. I would say if you haven't ran a Hifonics amp recently, give it a try. You might actually be surprised on, what you get. And the thing that's obvious is with the Hifonics is people choose this amplifier for that it's relatively cheap and it doesn't cost as nowhere near as much as the big names. Big names meaning expensive, like the Alpine, JBL, Rockford Fosgate, Sundown, Digital Designs, all those names that are very expensive that a lot of people can't afford, and I have no problem admitting that for a long time I could not afford those very expensive amplifiers because they were just unobtainable for me. Not everybody can, pay $1,500 for a car amplifier. It's just not everybody can do that. And if you're able to do that and it's nothing to you, well, congratulations to you. And for the rest of us average people, hear me out and say that this dude is talking real, not just I can run a bazillion Sundowns and this and that and I'm a millionaire. No, I don't want to hear about that. I don't care how rich you are and how much better your shit is. That's the problem with YouTube and forums and stuff. There's too much people who are just too stuck up, arrogant, and think too highly of themselves and think that they have the best shit, and to talk shit about everybody else who doesn't have the very top of the line stuff that they have. So let me get back on the subject here. The JBL here, made with crown, it's a hell of an amplifier. The thing that made me want to do this comparison video so much is the power similarity. Hifonics is claiming 2,500 watts. The JBL is claiming 2,200 watts. But look at the size difference. The JBL is double the size and quadruple the price. So an interesting thing about the JBL that I found really surprising is if you look up the specs of this amplifier online, they are wrong. Or, I really doubt this, the specifications on the box of this amplifier are wrong, which I highly doubt. The online specifications rate this amplifier at 1,850 watts at 2 ohms and 2,450 watts at 4 ohms. And a lot of people were like, that's really odd that the higher impedance is going to run more power than the lower one. Because, everybody knows that the less resistance the more power. But I guess JBL designed this amplifier different, so it's giving max power at 4 ohms. But what I was saying, on the box for this amplifier, the box states it is 2200 watts across the board, regardless of the impedance. So at 1, 2, and 4 ohms, it's claiming on the box to put out 2200 watts. If you look on Sonic Electronics, it's saying 1850 and 2450. So there's a discrepancy there on the website. I'm gonna go with what the box says. It says on the box it puts out 2200 watts. And I have no reason to doubt that this amplifier is super underrated. It says 2200 watts, but I guarantee you, if you hook this amp up to one of the dynos, I would not be surprised if this amp does not puts out somewhere close to 5,000 watts. I have no reason to doubt it. The Hifonics, the ZX2550.1. I'm gonna look up the exact specs right now, because I want to make sure that what I'm telling you guys is, facts. So I'm right here looking it up from the computer right here, from my iPad, I'm sorry. So the Hifonics power 2500 watts RMS at 1 ohm, 1250 watts at 2 ohm, and at 4 ohms 675 watts. And this amplifier is not bridgeable. And the JBL, see what I was telling you guys, right here on Sonic Electronics, for this amplifier, it's saying at 4 ohms, 2450 watts. And this is bridged. 4 ohms standard is 650, and 1 ohm, 1810. I think I said 1850, 1850, I apologize, 1810 on the specs from Sonic Electronics. Max power output 2940 watts. So, another little fact for people who are looking at the JBL Crown amplifier, the BPX 2200.1, people are claiming that the power inputs right here are 2 and 0 gauge. That is incorrect. The amplifier can only fit 4 gauge wire. So if you try to put 2 gauge and 0 gauge, it will not fit. It barely fits the 4 gauge. I'm running the Kanu Concepts Colossus 4 gauge wire, and they barely fit in those power terminals. And this one requires 2 power connections, dual power, dual ground, to power this amplifier. And it uses 12 gauge speaker wire inputs. The Hifonics is the same. It's 4 gauge and 4 gauge power and 12 gauge speaker wire. 270 amp fuses. The JBL does not have one, but it does say on the owner's manual, extreme power fuse is required. So if you don't want your JBL to go up in smoke, you better get a hella high amp fuse, like a 300 amp probably. So let me get to the point of how they both sound in the car. And yes, I will do a side-by-side comparison of both of these amplifiers in the car, and we'll use the same Sundown subwoofer to see which is better, Hifonics for 1/5 the cost or JBL for 5 times the cost. So I'm going to give you my impressions. The Hifonics is very powerful. I mean, if you're on a budget and you want something that, you know, can slam some subs, and you don't care about, you know, taking it to blowing level, I would go with the Hifonics all day. I've had this Hifonics and it's been running really well. I've had no issues with it. It powers my sub just fine, and honestly, it is not as power hungry as people claim it to be. I mean, right now I'm just running it off of my standard car battery, and I'm having no issues running it on my car battery. It does dim the lights after a while, but honestly, without having an upgraded alternator and an extra battery, you're going to have that problem. So yes, I would recommend the Hifonics Zeus Elite amplifier. I think for the price, it's definitely worth, you know, trying out. Don't knock it until you try it. The JBL here is more powerful, yes, but also it is extremely power hungry. I mean, if you're not feeding this amp some really good power, it's going to turn out on you, shut off on you. If it's going into protection mode, if you're trying to pull too much current and you don't have the volts to keep up with it, it's just gonna go into protection mode. So I'm gonna get an extra battery, one that's like capable of 130 amp hours, so I can power this amplifier how it wants to be powered, and it is very powerful. My Sundown was like flexing harder than I've ever seen it before. So I don't doubt the JBL at all. It's just, like I said, for some people it's the cost that makes it unobtainable. If you have $500-600 to spend on an amplifier, JBL all the way. If you look at one of my older videos, one with me using the JL W713 AE, that sub was, you know, flexing so hard with that one JBL 1400x1 amplifier I was using. So that's what made me want to go back to the JBL brand, because I know they make some serious power. So no more talking. I'm going to show you guys what everybody wants to see. The guts. There we go. Let's see the Hifonics. And I'll tell you that the JBL weighs twice as much as the Hifonics does. I weighed them. The Hifonics weighs 10 pounds and the JBL weighs 19 pounds. And it is heavy. I mean, the minute you pick up this amplifier right here, this JBL, you'll know it's freaking serious because it's super heavy. So that could be another indication of the price, and the build quality is how heavy it is. It feels very solid and expensive. Just, I mean, you know, like the saying off Jurassic Park, if it's heavy, it's most likely expensive. Alright, so enough talking. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned so you can see these amplifiers go head to head in the 2500 watt Amplifier Showdown. Thanks for watching. Bye.